So it's my great pleasure to be spending some time with Robert Kržišnik, who's a good friend of mine, and we've known each other for about 14, 15 years, I guess, Robert, a long time. And in that time, a lot's happened in both our lives. You've moved from Ljubljana, which is a beautiful city. I love Ljubljana, to Israel for love, I believe. And Robert is an author, recently published, This Miraculous Life, highly recommended. And you've been writing a new book, I believe, so I can't wait to read that. But Robert, one thing that struck me reading The Miraculous Life and also just knowing you is how I would describe you is as a free spirit. There's a lot of adventure and exploration that you've had in your life. And I'm wondering, how do you balance this kind of free spirit with a settling down and providing the stability that a relationship and a family needs? Because you've started a family with your new partner.
Right. Wow. I love the question, Ian. It's, now I want to pause for 20 minutes to explore it before I can answer. But somehow, I guess, my understanding of being a free spirit is maybe not so classical and standard as sometimes is, that necessarily means I want to be free and run around all the time. But it's more about my desire or very strong drive to explore life. That doesn't necessarily mean to run around and travel. Actually, I have way less passion for traveling than I used to have. But what it does mean is that somehow there is the driving me to try to be at the edge of accessible, at the edge of the known universe for myself. And I guess that's also why I have been taking things in life very seriously, and also that's why I have been taking relationships very seriously. Therefore, I didn't have short relationships. I didn't have just adventures. All my relationships were dead serious, and I think because of me, because I immediately dived into it.
And Robert, this desire that you talk about, this desire for life, how does that play out in your relationship, your current relationship? How does that play out?
Wow. I mean, I'm really hit by your questions, because they are just like, at least, in my specific situation, they're kind of opening up like, wow, yeah, that's a good one. So knowing that I don't have time now to stare through the window for an hour and explore, but I will try to summarize what I'm experiencing right now as a possible answer. That about taking things seriously or really being very explorative and serious about exploration of life. I think this is actually what brought me together with my partner, with Noah. That something that I resonated with, or I sensed in her as well. It's almost like meeting a very like a soul level relative. Somebody that like, oh, you're also so serious. Also, you're also so crazy about exploring the unknown and learning about the nature of existence. So I believe, how it played out was, I mean, it started playing actually. And so that's one thing. Another thing that I'm now reflecting on our relationship, I am really celebrating, is that we obviously totally support each other in their personal exploration, as well as in exploration in the relationship. That somehow Noah probably has all the awareness that there is just a huge yes in me to her journey of exploration and vice versa. And yeah, so that's one thing. And also I'm aware that it's quite a long answer. In our relationship, somehow we again and again end up coming back to the question that in a way inspired us in the first place. And that's the question, how much love is it possible to experience in a relationship?
Wow. And I'm curious, did you find the answer to that? How much? Have you reached that yet? The limit? Is there a limit?
I guess we will be able to evaluate that, when dying. Like, how much did we experience? It also becomes a bit of a joke of ours. Sometimes when we are kind of a grumpy and not really happy with each other, one of us would remember when we were curious about how much love is it possible to experience in a relationship, and then the other one would say, well, obviously not much. However, what I am experiencing on a serious note, experience of love towards Noah is ever increasing. So that definitely didn't stop or stay at the same level, but it just keeps increasing. Yeah. So yeah, lots of celebration in me about that.
And bringing a child into the world, because you have a son now, a young son. How did that change this exploration of life and this exploration of love? What did it add, or what did it take away? How did it change that dynamic?
Yeah, well, one thing that was for both of us very interesting, that we didn't really, I already have 2 grown-up kids. I never thought in my life I would want to have another child ever. In my life, I was very clear this part of my life was over. But then somehow, maybe a year into our relationship between Noah and me, that we kind of both agree that we don't know whether we want children. We don't know. We basically just want to, stay open and see. Then suddenly that for me and for her, it just became almost physically, if not emotionally, obvious that the field we've been opening wants to bring another life into this world. It's hard for me to explain what I'm actually saying, but it was a very, very physical and emotional and an energetic sensation. The reason why I'm talking about that is that somehow we keep experiencing again and again our son as the result of our love. Now, of course, ideally, every child would be a result of our love. And of course, my previous children are also a result of love I had. Sorry, not previous children, but from my previous relationship. But somehow this feels even more physical. It means it feels almost like observing this manifestation of specifically our love, walking around and growing and evolving. So in a way, that stayed present or became even more embodied with the birth of our son. Of course, on a practical level, we started to notice shift in dynamic that started to emerge and become visible quite soon, maybe a few weeks or a few months after our son was born.
So it sounds, the picture I'm getting is this exploration through relationship of love, of life, and kind of creating a relationship where you're wanting to experience everything, every manifestation that love has to offer, and then bringing a child into the world at a certain point just became a kind of an obvious and a natural further manifestation of that. It just kind of fitted. And then, of course, there's a practical side. You know, it's not all kind of spiritual. Presumably, it's not all spiritual exploration of the meaning of life. There's diapers that need to be changed, and food that needs to be bought, and everything else that needs to be taken care of. How does that look like? And you know, how do you fit that into this kind of more spiritual, sacred side of your life?
Yeah. Fortunately, at least I was not shocked by it, by the dynamics of that, which I was with my first two kids, because I was, you know, in my mid-20s then, and I even wrote an article someplace. I don't remember where, but it was like a short article in which I was expressing my anger and frustration because all these magazines for parenting or magazines for mothers or for, you know, parents and about children and so forth, always on a front page, they would have this beautiful looking young mother with a very, very happy baby in their lap and a very joyful father behind them. So it always seemed like, oh my God, this is just happiness. And then whenever I would read, you know, an interview with a famous person who just became a mother, and they would ask her, like, you know, how did that change your life? And the answers were always, well, you know, the child brought meaning to my life. You know, now, only now my life is meaningful and it's so blissful and it's so beautiful and so forth. So as funny as it may sound, I was actually, with my first two kids, I was shocked. Suddenly, all these things, I knew about them theoretically, but what it actually brings in, you know, it's almost like being enraged at other people who already have children for not telling me the truth, not telling me the reality. Anyway, so now, you know, 25 years, 27 years later, I was well prepared. Noah, of course, was not as naive as I used to be. So somehow, and we are also blessed with a situation in which we could both take several months, like really like half a year most, of not working at all, just being there with our son. So somehow this shift into practicality, diapers, cooking, cleaning, and so forth didn't come as a shock, didn't affect us. Even more, living in this eco village here, I was touched to tears to realize that here the you know, tradition is that when a new child is born into the village, this family will not cook for at least a month, if not more, because everybody else will be bringing them lunches, you know, with a calendar who cooks when and so forth. So of course it was very ideal. And it still is, in terms of collaboration, in terms of how we care for each other, how we... one thing that I am noticing though, and that's really my personal, you know, pattern, that I have this tendency to be, you know, easy-go-lucky. I'm just kind of okay with whatever. So there is this for you to eat. Okay. Or there is no more this. We ate it. So how about this? Yeah, that's fine. You know, I go very easily. However, then I have difficulty to notice when this is not so easy anymore. When, you know, I would happily stretch, you know, out of my, let's say, comfort zone or balance, very happily, not noticing anything. Yeah, joyfully, joyfully. But then suddenly, you know, a few weeks into it, I become very grumpy, and I'm noticing I totally lack sleeping. I am needing some more balance in certain care for household. You know, I would like to also have some time alone sometimes, and so forth. Nothing that that Noah would say no to, but I need to, from time to time, you know, have my own clarity. What are my needs, and then speak that out. So yeah. So if if both of us are very attentive, then it's flowing beautifully, I would say. If we are not, and mostly I am not, then I get into this cycle of kind of grumpiness, some depression, and then again being more clear about what I need, and so forth.
You know, Robert, listening to you, I must admit, I'm slightly disappointed, because I was kind of half hoping to hear that you've managed to transcend, you know, the day-to-day cleaning and all this stuff, and that when you'd reached some kind of, you know, enlightenment about love and this kind of manifestation of a spiritual relationship, that, you know, all this stuff actually didn't need to take place at all. One thing I know, just changing track slightly, one thing I know about you, Robert, is that I should just say that we're in summer 2020 right now, so we're still in the grips of the coronavirus pandemic, which has changed, I think, all our kind of lifestyles and patterns quite significantly for the last months. But before that, and when we're not in that, you're pretty much in demand on the international scene as a trainer, with nonviolent communication, with organizational work. So you're on the road quite a lot. We've spoken to each other from many strange, far-flung places in the world, and I'm wondering, how do you make sure that you get quality time with Noah and with Dorian? How do you kind of preserve that?
Yeah. So before Corona, that was much easier, because I work internationally. So Noah and me explored what is a you know, kind of a balanced way of me traveling, so that it works for her and it works for me, and we found like a ratio, which meant that when I was traveling, although I was working almost like, you know, giving workshops almost every day, or trainings, or flying, and so forth, still I had the sense, not the sense, but the experience of being alone, being completely with my, in my tempo, with my thoughts. You know, I'm an introvert, very happy sitting someplace, closed eyes, and just following my thoughts. So, and experiences. So somehow, although I was working a lot, I was also getting lots of alone time. And then, of course, I would come back, and then I would take over, and Noah will get alone time, and so forth. Now, with the Corona, this is a bit more challenging, because I need more time alone, on my own, just alone, than Noah. And she enjoys socializing or meeting up with friends and so forth a bit more than I do. Not because I don't like friends, but just because, yeah, I'm not so excited about very many and very long meetings. So there is some discrepancy. Now, of course, Noah would like us to go together as a family to visit people. And of course, I'm happy to do that. But, you know, there is some discrepancy there. Also, there is some discrepancy in the evenings when our son falls asleep. And there is, you know, part of me always wants to be alone, always. So to kind of navigate between that and the precious time for us, that's a bit more challenging now than it used to be while I was traveling. And again, I want to celebrate. I'm having an incredible support from my partner, from Noah, in that sense, that she knows that I am slightly different and is supporting me in that way. And also, I believe I am trying to be really attentive to that, because again, dozens of years ago, I had this experience when I was working with parents a lot in Slovenia. Maybe that's just valid for certain cultural setting, but it was something about, you know, this mythology that we seem to be carrying the culture, that first you need to sacrifice for your child. You need to do everything for your child. And then, if you still have some time, at 2 o'clock in the morning and some energy, then you can have some joy and pleasure. And long time ago, I realized if I do that, then my child will have a very tired and grumpy and unhappy father to live with. But if I focus on providing whatever my meeting and fulfilling my own needs and making sure I'm a happy man, that my needs are being met, that my passions are being met, and so forth, then by default I'm giving my child like the happiest parent ever, a well-rested and happy and fulfilled parent. And then from that point, it's so easy to be with a child, and otherwise it's quite a struggle, as we both know.
So that sounds, I hear a lot of people talk about quality time as a couple. It sounds like quality time for you is the time that you need to take care of yourself, so that you can then show up in a quality way with your family, with Noah, with your son. So would that be fair? That's the priority,
Sure.
is make sure as individuals you're both well taken care of, so that you can be, when you're together, you can be together well.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's been a process that wasn't necessarily easy. That was some quite challenging kind of explorations together. And I'm wondering, with that, and maybe with other things, how has nonviolent communication helped you kind of navigate some of these differences that are inevitable when two very different people come together and are forming a relationship? Yeah, how's that process helped you?
Well, very much. I mean, we are both not, practitioners and trainers of nonviolent communication, and so we are quite skilled, let's say, even though what is very often considered as quite skilled in like regular interactions with people, proves to be absolutely not skilled enough in a relationship. So of course, it's loads of challenges and so forth. However, I can't even imagine how we would go through, how we would not just go through, not just survive, but like really keep deepening the relationship. If I, just speaking for myself, didn't have a capacity to empathically listen to her. If I didn't have that, if I would continuously hearing whatever she says as if, oh, she's talking about me, she's trying to fix me, which I before actually did. So that's definitely, it's incredibly helpful. Another thing is somehow having experience through nonviolent communication dialogues, how my authenticity is really welcome. Or in other way, I can say that the fact that I have experienced having been fully empathically received by Noah, that was encouraging me to be way more authentic than I ever was before, only to be even more empathically received and so forth. So yeah, I just can't really imagine how we would be at the place where we are without, the skills and awarenesses of nonviolent communication. However, I just want to also mention the following: that doesn't mean that now all of the quality time we have together, it's mostly in the evenings, that means we sit and we talk and we are having dialogues and we are doing this nonviolent communication style of conversation. Sometimes we do, but it's mostly kind of very much integrated in the way we function. However, we very often spend doing meaningful time in the evenings. Like, for instance, we did dancing. We were dancing to each other or dancing together. We both practice contact improvisation, or doing a diet, or massaging each other, and while the other person is the person being massaged is sharing something vulnerable about them, or and so forth and so forth. So I believe this space of possibilities that very often remains untapped in by partners once they get a child is vast. And for us, we have a sense we are just beginning in what different ways we could spend quality time, just the two of us, so that it would be not only enriching for both of us, but also deepening our meeting, our connection.
Just coming back to the book, Miraculous Life, which struck me that the first part of your life, it's it's an autobiography, and it's bringing kind of you up to date to the birth of your son. And it seemed like it was a huge journey in your life, taking you many places, meeting many different people, many different experiences. And I'm wondering, do you have any sense about what's next? Where is life taking you next, in the next part of your journey?
It's a bit vulnerable for me to share that. I mean, of course, I don't have to. It was a question. I don't need to answer it fully, authentically, or honestly. But actually, I want to, because there is something about full authenticity that I really like or wish for. Anyway, so what's next? As you know, I just finished my next book, and which is going to probably reveal me way more than my autobiography did, even though autobiography was actually autobiographical. This is not. There is not a word about me in this book that I just wrote, but it is in a way revealing my soul, or my core, my essence, to the full nakedness. And what I am sensing, what might be opening up for me, is in a way coming back full circle to the journey that I started with attending enlightenment intensives in early 80s, so of the previous century. So in a way, slowly shredding everything that is not fully in the focus of my exploration of what is the nature of existence. So slowly peeling off, or quickly for that matter, if I manage, to peel off everything that I learned, all the clothes, all the suits that I learned to wear in my life because of being a good husband and a good son and a good this and a good that and a good trainer and a good and I was so much identifying myself with those layers that I couldn't even fully distinction between what is me and what is not me. So in a way, it feels, now of course, there is this bathing in this jacuzzi of love with Noah and my son, and our son. And of course, it's loads of other, you know, beauty as well. With my other two kids, I'm just really having so much love and friends and so forth. And this journey of exploring the very nature of existence is coming back full force, full throttle, and kind of a reclaiming its its space. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be connected with this. I will not, for instance, just start a random business to make lots of money, but it's most likely going to be directed.
And it sounds within that the relationship is, if not central, it's kind of an important supporting system around you to allow that. And part of it is together with Noah, but fundamentally it's about your own direction in life, your own exploration of the meaning of life. And I don't know, how do you see Noah as kind of an accompanying soul on that journey? Something like that, or something different? How does the relationship go hand in hand with that?
Yeah. I will start by quoting Noah from a few years ago, when I was just so overwhelmed with, maybe it was, 3 years ago, I was so overwhelmed with love that I was experiencing, that I said, wow, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to the universe for you know, no, I'm so grateful to you. That's what I said. I'm so grateful to you for accepting me into your life. And Noah, in her habit of kind of a cutting very often with one sentence down to the core, she said, don't be grateful to me, be grateful to that which brought us together. So in a way, I definitely have a continuous, even when they are the most difficult moments that we have, I still have this continuous deep experience of my gratitude for us being together in this life, deepening. So it's hard for me to say my soulmate and so forth, but somehow I would say a companion that I was searching for throughout my life. That companion that in a way is not the same as I am. It's almost like made from the same fabric, but it's different. Therefore, with me and her, with her, I get a stereo sound of the universe and of what it is to be alive. I keep learning on a daily basis from our field, from what's happening between us. I keep being totally supported. I keep experiencing beauty and love that I'm sometimes melting in gratitude for. So I guess something like, when I'm trying to think of a sport, maybe it's really car racing, when there is a driver and there's a co-pilot, and the driver cannot drive as fast without a co-pilot. So that because the co-pilot is telling them, right, left. So for me, I would say she's the co-pilot or co-driver that I can completely trust. I can even close my eyes and drive. And what I know it is that for her, I am a co-driver. So both of us are driving our own lives, and exploring what we are set to explore. And we are having incredible co-drivers. So that's the metaphor that dawned on me just now.
Nice metaphor. I'd like to turn just briefly to parenting, because you are a couple and you have this what for me sounds like a beautiful relationship about exploring and experiencing love and life, and your parents as well. To what extent are you aligned or differently aligned on how to raise a child, and how do you navigate? How do you kind of bring, you know, the two of you together? Both of you have very different cultural upbringings and experiences. Both of you have very different life journeys. So I'm guessing, I'm assuming that you have some differences in, you know, what your beliefs are around raising children. How do you how do you navigate that and bring those together?
Three answers come up in my mind. I hope I will remember them all. So one thing is about this kind of a conscious, you know, how do we consciously want to raise kids? So what would be the manual for raising kids or for being with kids that she would write and mine? And I think those manuals would be very, very, very similar on a conscious level, right? And that's, of course, that makes it so much easier. However, unconsciously, me and Condition Noah, there are quite some differences. The way she functions, also just in the relationship, there are quite some differences. But then in the relationship towards our son, Noah sometimes says that I remind her of her grandfather, who was a Holocaust survivor from Eastern Europe, and also developed, you know, through going through these really, really difficult experiences back in the concentration camp and so forth in life. He developed this kind of a bit of survivalistic approach to life, like, this is what we have to eat, this is what we eat. When this is finished, we open something else. We don't throw any food away. First, you know, if food is about to expire, then this is going to be for lunch today, and so forth, you know. And I have quite a bit of that without having any connection with you know, with the Holocaust and stuff. But I do have, maybe it's a Slavic nature, maybe it's the leftovers of the socialism after war, Second World War, that my parents were probably you know, having integrated in their system. But so these unconscious reactions, we do have different, that I would like, well, you know, this is what we eat now. And so far, now, of course, Dorian, our son, is just 16 months old, so it's not yet the most challenging time. But so far, we are navigating, finding ways. How can I kind of care for my son's needs if Noah is doing something that I don't believe is really nourishing for him? How can I, you know, care for him and at the same time care for her and care for our relationship? It's sometimes quite difficult to navigate, you know, to not just bark out like, hey, what did you say? Blah, blah, blah. You know, why? Because that really wouldn't work. So it's an exploration. How can we be with each other? How can we support? Because actually, I do say to Noah, please, if you see me ever again, be like this towards our son, do let me know. You know, but how? So that I don't. And another thing that I really, really like is that we are very quick to acknowledge that we don't know. That we don't have difficulties to acknowledge that. Like just yesterday, in the evening, we were talking about a certain behavior that our son just now, like in last weeks, started to develop. And we realized we don't like it. I mean, it hurts. He's kind of hitting us, you know, with a stick or something. But it's different than what I experienced with my first two kids, who immediately, when they realized that is causing me pain, they would stop, or at least try to stop. when they found out I hit daddy with a stick, it hurts him. Okay, got it. You know, and also it's not so. No, I used to work in the kindergarten as a kindergarten teacher with little kids. So she also has lots of experience with that. But we noticed that he really wants to collaborate. He really wants to cooperate. But somehow, as if something is not clear to him, as if he would say, he would hold the stick, say no, no, ow, ow, no, no, and then hit me with an innocent laughter. You know, it doesn't give me a sense like, oh, he wanted to cause me pain, or So anyway, so it's a situation in which right now we don't really know. And I think that's also a quality that I'm very much enjoying, that we would acknowledge, like, wow, we don't know what to do, in a way that would be, non-violent and congruent with our values and so forth. Let's talk about it. Let's explore it. So that I believe, getting rid of this idea that I, as a parent, have to be perfect. I have to know all the answers. I have to do everything perfectly. Getting rid of this idea, I think it's very, very life-serving to realize I'm not perfect. I'm gonna make errors. I'm gonna make things that I will later on regret. But what I can be an honest parent. I can come to my son and say, hey, yesterday I raised my voice at you. I'm really sorry. I'm really regretting that, because that's not how I want to be with you. And I can keep increasing the trust between us by being honest and authentic.
And that sounds to me like a great quality to bring to any relationship, whether it's with children or whether it's with our partner. This, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I want to get better. I want to learn. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing that now I remembered, and it's actually an indirect answer to a previous question that you had. It's about how nonviolent communication supports us, and there is also one thing that we are just learning to balance, which is the focus and precision and seriousness of approach of nonviolent communication, which every word can, be so upsetting for the other person, in which we are really trying to be clear. And I love it. I teach it. However, what we noticed is, if we don't balance that with humor, if we don't balance it with lightness, if that becomes like, okay, so when I hear you say this and that, I feel because I need. So if we don't keep bringing in fun and ease, then this nonviolent communication, and probably every other approach to relationships and communication, can become a rigid procedure that is lifeless and that triggers resistance in me, because, oh my God, not again, talking to you. But if we keep bringing this stuff, and sometimes it's so funny, how we just, but of course, there needs to be a ground of trust. There needs to be a field of trust already built, that fun and joy can actually, just kind of remind us, like, it's not so heavy, it's not so dramatic. We love each other, and we have a beautiful son, and it's okay. Come on, So, and sometimes we would say, like something like, when I notice, this is how I got. I thought of this example. When I notice that I've done something that I'm regretting, I want to be like really fast and come to Noah, with honesty. And then sometimes it would be almost like, okay, I am the first one to to regret something. You see how developed I am, how spiritually developed I am? Or we would say, I was really proud of this joke that I made the other day when I approached her and I said, listen, Noah, I can easily forgive you. But the main thing is, can you forgive yourself? When it was obvious that I was about to express regret. Anyway, to keep bringing lightness and joy of life, and humor into it, I think it's really, really important. And I'm just now discovering.
So, Robert, we're approaching the end of our time together, and I've got one final question. You talked earlier about if you could each write the manual of parenting, and your manuals would be fairly similar. What about the manual of relationships? Could you tell me like 3 chapter headings of your manual of relationships? So the key to successful relationships, 3 bullets. What would they be? And not wanting to put you on the spot or anything, but this is your final question. Your final question, by which this quality of this interview will be judged.
Oh, wow. Yeah. First thing that I want to, it's not necessarily, the most important, but the first that comes to my mind is gratitude. There is just gratitude and appreciation. There it is. I believe it's so incredibly important. It's so incredibly important. And it tends to be, with our socially conditioned mind, it tends to be pushed aside, pushed away, so that we are only looking for what's wrong and what this person promised to do but haven't done. All this little, like this mechanical approach, trying to figure out where the machine is not working anymore and what needs to be fixed. And for me, there are 2 parts of this gratitude. One is to really sense into it. And almost every evening I go out. Before I go to sleep, I go out. I have a hammock under stars. I go out and lay in the hammock. And gratitude is sensing into gratitude. It's almost always my practice when I go out. And it's something about just appreciating, just gratitude. And I notice even when we are really pissed at each other, Noah and me, my heart is actually full of gratitude. It's hard to describe, but it's really honest. It's not mental. So really sinking into this sense of gratitude. And then after I have sensed in, after I have really celebrated with gratitude all the beauty I can notice in our relationship, for instance, then I want to bring it into our relationship and speak it out. Otherwise, Noah doesn't have much of my gratitude. So I want to bring it in. It's something that shifts, something that melts away when we hear that, when we express it, and when we hear. So that's one thing. Another that comes up to me is really full support to each other's journey. To kind of fully be aware, Noah, or my partner, is not an object in my life. Her life is about her. My life is about me. Her life is about her. Now, what I can do, I can be this co-driver. I can be her best friend. I can do whatever I can and still stay balanced to support her own journey. In a way, symbolically, metaphorically speaking, like saying, dance, my sweetheart. Sing your heart, my beloved. Yes, enter this life fully. Dance your dance, sing your song, do whatever you're here for. And inviting her to do the same for me. Small practical things, large decisions together, and so forth. So that I would say is maybe second thing that comes up, like this full spiritual support. And the third thing that comes up is right now is really spending time together, quality time together, in which we celebrate life. Quality time together can also be, sitting and talking, and it's quality. And I'm not saying that's not necessarily celebrating life, but just wanted to say, searching for things that we could do together very often, if not on a regular basis, in which we actually celebrate life. We actually are enjoying ourselves. We are enjoying being together, enjoying fun. Is it dancing together? Is it, drawing together? Is it whatever together, but something that's really fun. So celebrating life together. That's the third one. Did I answer correct this last question?
It was a pretty good answer, Robert, I must say. I was very inspired and touched by it. Yes, and I notice I'm holding up a lot of what I'm hearing from you against my own relationship, and I'm already starting to think, okay, how can I bring more of some of what I'm hearing from you into mine? So I'm deeply grateful for this time, Robert, getting to know a kind of an aspect of your life that I know something about, but like you sharing it in this way is bringing a very kind of new perspective and a deeper kind of dive into this area of your life that maybe we don't touch on so much in our regular meetings. So I'm very grateful. I enjoyed it a lot, and thank you very much, Robert.
Me too. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you. I love the questions because they were opening us. I will be still thinking about them. So it was an incredibly enjoyable experience for me. Sad that it's over, but maybe that there will be more.
Maybe.
Thank you.